Welcome, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Forgot to Save podcast, a twice-monthly gaming podcast where we go back and play the games that we always wanted to, but never got around to doing so with you, the listener. I'm Mike.
And I'm Stone. And if you're not already listening on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, or Stitcher, you can find us on any of those sites. Now, Mike, as always, what have you been up to in the meantime?
What have I been up to? Well, it's summertime. Of course, it's the end of July. I have been busy with mostly two things, working and not working. And when I'm not working, I have been outside. A lot of the different organizations that I am a part of are in full swing because I do volunteer for a lot of different environmental consulting firms. And a lot of their projects are kind of right in the middle of it, right in the heat of it. So your favorite, a lot of time out catching snakes is really what it boils down to.
It's sometimes you'll message me or like post pictures of it, and I'm just thinking he's living out my nightmares. Like, I have dreams where I'm in a field surrounded by snakes and they're coming toward me, and you're like, I want to pursue that.
And then you actually find out I'm in that field, surrounded by snakes. I'm actively searching for these creatures and I'm loving every second of it.
Actually cringing at the thought of it.
And I don't fault you for it. I don't. This is a phobia. It boils down to however you want to understand it, but I do believe that there is some evolutionary biology behind this specific phobia. So I can't fault you. I could teach you about them, but I don't think in your case it's really going to do any good.
Here's the ones that won't kill you, but they'll still come after you.
No, snakes
kidding.
don't.
I know.
Oh, come on.
So here's my thing, right? If they're in a terrarium or something and I'm far enough away, then it's okay with me. Like, I can be like, that is a cool snake. But I don't know, seeing them move, I'm like tensing up thinking about it. And like, if they are in the open air sharing the same air I'm breathing, I'm out. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. But yeah, it's definitely like a phobia. Like, I wish I could get over it, but.
Mine are all in Terraria, and they're 1,600 miles away. Would you consider that far enough?
Yeah. Like, you sent me a picture that one time. It was terrifying to me. But you were vacuuming, and one of them got out and got into your pocket. And I was like, this is cool and terrifying.
He was actually a bit of a nightmare. I won't lie. He was probably the worst pet I've ever had. I have since found him a new, better home with less of me to bite.
Wait, is that Dodge?
No. The one that actually he didn't get into my pocket. He actually bit my shorts as I was walking by his cage. That was, his name was Snaky because I'm really good at naming pets.
That's so stupid.
And he was a children's python.
Okay.
And he got out. He sat on his cage, apparently waiting for me. And as I was vacuuming,
you're not selling me.
He bit my shorts and decided to try and constrict them.
Are they normally aggressive?
They can be. They have this weird complex. They're one of the smallest python species in the world, and they just really make up for it in stupid, nonsensical aggression against creatures 18,000 times their size.
Wow, that is a big difference. I guess we should put it out there because I don't know if people listening know, but you studied herpetology, so you deal with a lot of these reptiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep,
that is true. My background, it's formerly in environmental science, but it's always been an emphasis on herpetology, which is the study of reptiles and amphibians. Always been a very, very strong passion of mine since I was very little. So now, even though I'm not working professionally in the field, I work with a lot of the professionals in the field, and I'm really just happy that I have this opportunity to spend my free time out there doing what I love and helping to educate the public, but more importantly, helping to conserve these animals that I find truly fascinating and also very important to our ecology.
Yeah, and I mean, you nursed one that you found hit by a car.
I did. Hit by a car or a bicycle. I'm not really sure which. He was on the road, so I leaned towards car, but then again, if it did, it was amazing that he survived with only the damage that he had. But I did find a young bull snake whose side had been ripped open. He had a big gaping wound. Would have been dead that night. And normally when I see injured animals, if it's natural, I hate to say it, but I let nature take its course because that was not our doing. But when a human is involved, and obviously we were, whether he was hit by a bike or a car, I feel personally responsible. So I took him home, cleaned him up. I got some bacitracin and some Neosporin. I changed a bandage twice a day for him, and now he's good as new, and he's kind of been a pet and something that I use to, again, kind of educate the public when I can bring him out and about.
That's cool.
And I named him Dodge, both for his inability to do so and likely the make of the car that hit him.
Right. I named him Dodge.
Oh, that's true. You named him Dodge.
Yeah. Despite me fearing the creature. I guess we never really talked about it when it happened. You just said, like, this happened and this is what I did. But, like, is that hard to, like apply this antibiotics to this snake that is, like, all muscle? Like, it has to feel that a lot more than we would, right?
It does, and you could definitely tell that there were times where it did hurt as I was cleaning it out, and as I was applying the bacitracin, it definitely hurt. I mean, his skin was gone. It was a hole into his internal cavity. So yeah, it definitely hurt him. But he never once struck me during it. And
that's cool.
I don't typically put human traits onto animals. I don't really believe that they have the same sort of consciousness that we do. I'm sorry if any of you do, that's fine. But I don't know. There was a time that I actually thought, does he know that I'm actually doing this for him? And that's why he's just kind of, allowing me to do so. I don't know. It'd be cool to think that that's the case.
That is super cool. Yeah. Cause like, I don't know, maybe it's like, maybe he's just so far gone. He was like, I'll just deal with this. I don't know.
Could have been
crazy.
It could have been him just saying, I'm injured. This big creature is either going to kill me or release me. At this point, there's nothing I can do about it.
And that's close to 2 years now, I want to say, right?
Yeah. Actually, this summer would be 2 years. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. He's great.
This is weird that this is the conversation we settled on, but it is cool. I guess we never really talked about the details of like you finding him. You're just like, I think he was hit by a car, but like we nursed him back and he's good now. And then I thought he got out and attacked you while vacuuming, but now I know that he's the chill snake.
He is the chill snake. He loves to come out and actually watch the cats as they watch him, which is pretty funny. He knows that he's safe behind glass.
He doesn't try to break out, right?
He has gotten out. He has gotten out in the last apartment, and it was my fault. I just left the cage kind of cracked a little bit. Now we have more of a locking cage. And it's amazing because I found him up on the wall behind a painting.
Oh, yeah, you told me that, and I didn't sleep that night.
Took everything off the wall.
Because I said, if one sneaks up here, I have to look at every angle, not just the ground.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
This is another little story about snakes. Now this is what we're talking about. I moved into this new house, and we have a porch in the backyard. And my one fear was like snakes living under here. And I was like, no matter what the cost, I don't want a snake down here.
And you asked me about it.
I messaged you. I was like, I know this is kind of the opposite of what you deal with, but what do I do to not make this a habitable place for snakes at all? But I have since taken your advice. There's no wood under there.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, I can't cut off the food source because there are a ton of rabbits running around right now. Like tons of them.
Well, the rabbits in your area aren't so much an issue. The biggest snake you're going to have around you is the eastern rat or the black rat snake. And yeah, they could take a very young rabbit. But as far as anything that's more than 4 weeks old, there's nothing around you that's going to be able to get one.
Okay. I've definitely seen a copperhead around here before. Is that just on the mountains?
The copperheads in central PA are very uncommon. If you saw one near water, I would be willing to bet it was actually a northern water snake because they do have somewhat similar patterning.
Oh, I don't know. That's crazy.
I usually find copperheads in Pennsylvania out towards the Poconos.
Okay, cool. Well, that has been a fun education.
So what have you been up to,
our
Stone?
reptilian friends? Well, now cowering in fear. Like, I'm not joking. Like, my feet are off the ground right now. I don't know what it. I wish I could like them, but I can't. It's to the point. Actually, we're probably going to talk about this in a little bit. But I've been playing Pokemon Go, and whenever I know this isn't true, but whenever I see like an Ekans on the map, I'm like, there's a snake there. Don't go over there. But getting the house cleaned up has been a big thing.
Sure.
I'm making a lot of progress there. It's really been like, I don't know. I've had plans back to back to back. Like every weekend is doing a ton of stuff. So I haven't gotten to watch Spider-Man as much as I wish I could. But I celebrated my nephew's birthday early yesterday, so that was a blast. Yeah, really just like I've been playing games, but not a lot of Titanfall 2. I got super excited after the last episode wrapped, and I played Titanfall 2 like the next day, all day, and I was like, I shouldn't burn up too much of the story because I want to have something to talk about after.
Yeah.
So I played through Kingdom Hearts because that got remastered on the PS4 not too long ago. That was a blast, and I've been playing through Pokemon Battle Revolution for the Wii, which is one of my favorite Pokemon games. And I'm getting excited for the Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer next week.
Yes.
And the XCOM 2 expansion coming at the end of the month. I have a lot of really big like gaming things coming up after our next episode. So I'm very, very, very excited for my favorite titles getting new content.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, I've been like, because like XCOM 2, I have over 100 hours in, and I've loved every second. Oh, a fun tip for anybody that plays XCOM 2, do yourself a favor, download all of the Halo armor and weapon mods, and play through it that way. It feels like a Halo game, and it's a blast. But I have a ton of hours into it. You're actually one of my best units, and I've been content with the amount of content in the game. I thought all the DLC was pretty good. It's one of the only games I've purchased the season pass for, and I was like, all right, well, XCOM 2's done, but I'm still going to continue to play it. And then they kind of surprised us at E3 and said, oh, here's an expansion so big we considered it being its own game. And I was like, what? I don't have this much time in my life. I don't have 40 hours to put aside, but I'm going to. And then we've been expecting the Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer DLC. They announced that even before it launched that this was a project they were working on, and they didn't want to delay the game for another 8 years. So we're finally getting the beta coming Saturday, I think it's the first day.
Yeah.
So if that's good, I'm going to hit you up, and you got to buy the season pass. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot in the gaming world that I'm really excited about, except, and you're going to have to forgive me. I'm going to admit something too that it makes me feel dirty all over.
Oh, did they make another Hello Kitty Island adventure?
I'm actually excited for Destiny 2.
Oh, you had to do it.
I had to do it.
My heart.
I played actually a good bit this weekend, even though I was like, I should be playing Titanfall 2, and I want to play Titanfall 2, but darn it, people are playing Destiny, and I want to do it, and I had a blast.
So was it just the beta?
It wasn't even Destiny 2, I played Destiny 1.
Oh my god!
I played Destiny 1. So I sunk a lot of time into the PS4 version of Destiny. A good friend of mine wanted me to play with him on Xbox One. He has since stopped playing, apparently, in preparation for Destiny 2. So he got me Destiny on Xbox One. And all the DLC. So I have been leveling a brand new character and having a blast with it all over again. And there really is so much content. Now, you had to pay for it all.
Don't say it.
You had to pay for it all.
There's not so much content, though.
There really is now. If you buy it as I think it's only like $40 for everything right now. There's
I saw the complete edition for $6 on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, like in an actual game store.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But so I hate to say it, and I was talking to our friend Gladdy today, and he's on board, and so there's a
Big Daddy Gladdy. It's his birthday today.
Is it today? I thought it was last week.
I'm a bad friend.
I think it was last Thursday.
I still didn't say happy birthday. Either day. I don't know why. Sorry, Gladdy. Happy birthday.
Holy smokes. But yeah, so one of our old friends that we both used to work with, and a good gaming friend of ours, and he is kind of interested now, which means I might actually own this. I'm not even kidding, on all three.
Oh,
consoles.
no, don't say it.
because I have good friends of mine on PlayStation, Xbox One, and PC that all want to play.
Look,
so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I want to make it clear that if you like Destiny, that's cool. That's on you. It was not the game for me. But I will not stop giving Mike a hard time for liking Destiny. So to anyone that isn't Mike, you're allowed to like Destiny. But Mike, no. What I will say is I was very much seduced by the alpha and beta of the first Destiny. I was unaware that when the game came out, that was all the content that would be in it. And no, I was not willing to pay for DLC. Just a preface.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too such. I mean, we're already 15 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about the free game. But
snakes.
But snakes and Destiny. I don't like their business model. I never will. And honestly, the funny thing is, if they simply did this, and this is the psychology behind it, if they simply said Destiny is now a subbed MMO, quote unquote MMO, $15 a month, and they included all of this content for free as it was developed, honestly, I don't think I would bat an eye, because it is on par with a lot of the expansions that, ESO or WoW puts out, but you still buy those on top of a subscription fee.
I think... Sorry.
I was going to say, Destiny, it essentially has a subscription model, but it's not monthly. Instead, it's every 3 or 4 months when they have a new expansion, because everything before it is largely made obsolete, just like you have kind of in some of the bigger MMOs. But it's almost like they hide their subscription in expansions. That's how I see it.
I don't know. I understand what you're saying is valid. I think even 15 would be too much for the amount of content you get.
It probably would be. Maybe 10.
But the reason I'm so harsh on Destiny is because, like, when Destiny came out, I mean, I was still playing, like, I guess I just talked about XCOM 2. XCOM 1 I had over 100 hours in. I could buy that as a full-price game, or Destiny, and I could get 10 hours out of Destiny or 100 hours out of XCOM, both without the expansion. So, I mean, you all the time are talking about the value of a game. I thought Destiny was just poor. But yeah, that's just me. That's totally a conversation we could go into anytime, especially around the launch of Destiny 2. Why don't we see if your tone changes when you own 3 copies of Destiny 2?
And I'm trying to manage 9 characters doing the same exact content every day.
It is cool that they finally listened to their fans and put it on PC. That's a big deal for Destiny. But yeah, let's table Destiny, because
Sure.
I do want to talk about Destiny sometime, and hopefully 2 changes the tone of that discussion. But we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, it is the first of the month, so we did play a free game, and this is not really the conventional free games we played before. This is one we've kind of been long time playing. It is Pokemon Go, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Mike, do you want to start it out?
I would be happy to start it out.
Let's explain what it is first. Sorry.
Do you want to? Maybe you'd be better at explaining it just because you have the background. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Pokemon Go, if you're not familiar with Pokemon as a franchise, I'm sorry. It's a 20-year-old franchise where you go around collecting various monsters and training them and evolving them so that you can have a stronger one to battle or just collect. Pokemon Go is an augmented reality version, I say that with air quotes, where you can use the GPS on your cell phone and go and catch Pokemon in the real world. They also have these Pokestops centered throughout where you can collect items and balls to capture the various monsters, as well as gyms where you can fight other players' Pokemon and do these new raid battles where a powerful Pokemon will appear and you and a group of other players can combine your strength and beat this boss character with a chance of capturing it at the end. It's supposed to be a more community-based game. It will incorporate things like AR through your camera, your GPS tracking, so that you can get steps to record for hatching eggs and getting candy for your partner Pokemon and finding new Pokemon that you can, capture to get candy to evolve those Pokemon and make them stronger. Was that too complex an explanation for Pokemon Go?
No, I think you kind of nailed it.
Okay.
I can just do a real quick summary.
Sure.
You basically turn on your phone, you catch Pokemon by walking around. There's eggs you can hatch. You spin Pokestops to get items, or you fight at gyms to get coins. And there's a shop where you can spend real money or you can spend the coins that you earn from gyms.
Yes.
The end.
Well said.
So, my experience. Our experience is going to be very, very different.
Oh, night and day.
And I like that. I think a lot of the times we've talked about games, our experiences have been very different. But this one is going to really hit home, especially for Stone, because he has grown up in the Pokemon universe.
Yeah.
I don't know of anyone who even comes close to the amount of experience and knowledge that Stone has in the Pokemon games. He has always talked to me about it, and I've always been interested more so in hearing him talk about it than in the games themselves. But other than a very brief, maybe 20 minutes in Pokemon Silver on an emulator, I think.
You played through Moon.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Before that,
sorry.
you did have me try Silver on an emulator.
Soul Silver.
Soul Silver, yes. I didn't get very far at all, but I was actually really excited for Pokemon Sun and Moon. I went to GameStop at midnight. I actually went to a midnight release, and I got Moon. And I don't regret it. I played through it. I will say that I did not beat it because I almost wanted to say Fantastic Four, but that's not it. The Elite Four.
That
right?
would be a very different fight.
The Fanforstick?
Stop.
No, but is it the Elite Four? Is that what it is?
It is the Elite Four, yeah.
Okay, so the Elite Four, they beat me, and I only gave it one attempt, and I kind of talked to Stone about this. The whole game seemed really easy up until that point. I didn't have to think about my party composition or strengths and weaknesses. Everything just steamrolled whatever I was fighting until I got to the Elite Four, and I think I beat one and then just got absolutely destroyed. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and call this completed.
Yeah, in fairness, that Pokemon game has the biggest spike in difficulty I've seen in any other game, so I don't blame you.
It was kind of crazy. So that's my only experience with Pokemon. That's it. I didn't watch the cartoon. I didn't play the games. So when Pokemon Go came out, I was excited to play it because I do like getting outside. I do like just going out and walking and seeing the world. And I thought, hey, this is something that could actually keep me motivated in doing so. And that's how I've always treated the game. Now, I did probably take a couple of weeks off here and there, but especially when they started doing these bonuses where if you spin 7 stops or a stop 7 days in a row, or if you catch a Pokemon 7 days in a row, you get bonus experience, bonus items, and now you actually get a free evolution item on your 7th spin. I play every day. I don't miss a day. And it might not be me going out and walking 5 miles, but I at least catch a Pokemon every day, and I at least spin 1 stop every day. And typically that involves me leaving the house and actually walking to the nearest stop, which isn't far. It's about, I think, 1.5 kilometers there and back, which I only know because of eggs. And I love it. I love this game, and I understand the criticism, which I know Stone's going to focus a bit more on, so I'm not going to focus on them. But what I love is it gets me out of the house. It gets me moving. It has actually taught me some about Pokemon. I know Stone, the first time I mentioned IVs to him, he cried a little.
I cried a little. Yeah, 1 tear.
He absolutely cried. I don't necessarily know the importance of said IV values. Wait, IV values is redundant.
Yes. Oh, look at that.
So, IVs. I don't necessarily know the importance, but I know that I can tell when I have a pretty good Pokemon, and I only keep the ones that have at least a 95% IV or better. But I've just had fun with it, and I haven't taken it too seriously. My main goal is to collect the Pokemon, kind of got to catch them all.
Right.
I don't really participate in gyms too much, especially with the new update. I like the new feature, the raid feature, but as a player in an area with not a lot of other players, it seems like, especially the legendary raids have largely gone untouched by me because there's just no one around doing it.
Yeah.
But that's basically my experience. I haven't spent a dime. I have bought things in the store, but you can buy everything with games that you earn from doing gyms. So I appreciate that. The store does not feel like a blatant cash grab most of the time. There are times where they're definitely leaning that way, but just the fact that I know I can buy everything just by playing the game, I appreciate. But at the same time, you don't need anything from the store to advance. If you want to advance, faster than a level every 6 months, you do. But you can play as you will, 100% for free. And that's how I've done it for over a year now.
Yeah. So I'm going to say the opposite of everything you said. No. I need to compose myself. Pokemon Go, it stings, right? It's the cut that like never quite heals because it's on like your thumb or something. You know, like it keeps reminding you that it's there, and like you want it to be healed. Like this game to me just hit beta. Like what bugs me the most about Pokemon Go is not the fact that it says Pokemon, or not that it's not true to Pokemon itself. It doesn't have to be all of the concepts exactly from all the original Pokemon games. I don't mind them adding candy or transferring Pokemon, and you know, they have these 3 teams and they have their special gym leaders. The stuff, the like detraction from the standard Pokemon format does not bother me at all. What bothers me is the way the business model, the way the game is run, the Niantic, the company that runs it, really, really grinds my gears. It's all very poorly executed, and the fact that it is trampling on like the staple of my childhood, which is Pokemon, it burns me. But Pokemon Go, I mean, it is fun. It's fun to get out and go play it with people. I find myself and my girlfriend play it together pretty regularly. That especially holds true during events. We live right by a church, which is a block down, that is also a gym. So sometimes when there's raid Pokemon there that we both need, we can get up and we'll drive down because we're lazy and it's hot right now, so we use the AC. But we'll drive down there. We'll just do the raid really quickly, maybe take the gym after. That takes 15 minutes. And it's 15 minutes we get to spend together, which is fun. And hopefully we don't walk away too frustrated, but there always seems to be, every single time we go out, an error. And the error is something so stupid that was there 3 or 4 patches ago that hasn't yet to be fixed, or something along those lines. So every time you have a good experience with this game, it takes me back a few steps. And I don't know, Mike, is that something you also experience, or am I being dramatic here?
No, I don't think you're being too dramatic. And again, I can see the flaws, and especially in talking with Stone, it has helped to kind of temper my my view of the game. I'm not in love with this game. I don't play it because I have to. I play it for the reasons I gave earlier. And I haven't given them a dime. So there's clearly something stopping me from, even though I have, I don't know how many hours and hours of playing this game at this point, there's something stopping me from actually supporting Niantic. And it is the fault and the flaws. And like Stone said, it feels like the game just entered beta a year after its official release. And there's one other thing we are going to touch on, maybe not harp on, but they just celebrated their anniversary, and let's just say it didn't go over perfectly.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. I do also want to say that the point Mike's making, where you can get in-game currency to then spend it on the various items in the store, it is true, but it's capped very, very harshly, if you ask me. What happens is you can leave your Pokemon in a gym, and for every 1 hour it defends it, you'll get 10 Pokecoins, which are the store currency that you can purchase with real money if you'd like. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that it's capped at 50 Pokecoins a day. So if you put 3 Pokemon in these stops and 3 Pokemon in these gyms, in 3 different gyms, and they're all there for 2 hours, everything after that 2 hours is useless for the entire day. And it doesn't roll over the next day. It's just capped. That 50 is what you're going to get. So whether it's there for 1 hour or 100 hours, you're getting 50 Pokecoins from it. That's if you haven't gotten 50 Pokecoins that day. If you have a Pokemon that's been in a gym for 100 hours, and you have another one that's been in there for 5 hours, and that 5 hours comes back first, that 100 hours was useless to you. So they do stuff that really continues to hinder your experience in the game. And this doesn't necessarily affect Mike like he just said, but raids, they require a raid pass to participate in. Now, you can get one free raid pass a day if you don't already have one by swiping a Pokestop built into a gym. You'll get a free raid pass every day. But now with the legendary Pokemon introduced, the raid passes, the raids are so significantly harder that you'll find yourself losing a few times and in turn losing that raid pass. So you might wake up with one, use it, lose, swipe and get a second one, use it, lose, and now the choice is to let this legendary go and you might never see or catch it again because, as we just saw, today is the very last day for Articuno. We don't know when and if it's ever coming back. So today could possibly be the last day to get Articuno, period. And you might be stuck sitting there right now in a park somewhere having to pay, and granted it's only 99 cents, but the point is you've now been forced behind this paywall if you want to catch this limited edition Pokemon. And if you're a Pokemon fan, that really hurts because I love Pokemon. I want to continue to enjoy this game, but they continue to put barriers in place for me not to enjoy it. So I try my hardest never to support Niantic. Now I do have, there's an app from Google called Google Rewards where you answer little surveys and they give you like 10 or 25 cents for finishing a survey. And I keep it stored up in Google Play credit, so that way if I do want to buy something in an app, I can use money that I don't actually have to spend. I'll have a few dollars in there I can take from, and I'm always hesitant to even spend that in Pokemon Go. I was forced to the other day for Articuno because that's before we even knew when it was ending. They led everyone. Well, okay, I may have misinterpreted, but I felt as though they led people to believe that Articuno was exclusive for that weekend. So in me not wanting to lose out on the opportunity of getting one, I was forced to pay the 99 cents. Now that 99 cents never came out of my wallet, but I'm still very much upset that that money went to Niantic at all. The reason I have such a problem with it is because before this game was announced, first of all, this is like a childhood dream of mine, period. I get to walk around in real life and catch Pokemon. That is perfect. But they announced this game. I forget how far in advance they announced this. I want to say somewhere around 6 to 8 months. I'm not 100% sure. But in their trailers, they showed people trading Pokemon. And they showed people battling each other, not just gyms. All features of which are completely absent from the game at this time. But they, in one of the first big updates in the game, took the time to add the second generation Pokemon. So instead of dedicating members of the team to actually releasing these features promised before launch, we are still in this pending status. So that's why the game very much feels like a beta. There are bugs that have yet to be fixed. There are features completely missing from the game, but everything they can do to get a little bit more cash from you, they're trying to put in the game to get you back into it. And I don't know. I won't go into the specifics of like every little thing that bugs me about the game, but the business model, I feel, continues to take advantage of the players while offering the absolute minimum working product to get the money from them. And because there's so many of these microtransactions getting through and they're benefiting from it, they have absolutely no reason to ever want to change this. And I feel like they took the biggest hit this weekend. So, Mike, I know you've been dying to talk about it. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm sorry, was it this weekend or the weekend before?
It was the weekend before.
Sorry, yeah.
It was the weekend before. So they just celebrated 1 year after their official release, quote unquote. And so they decided that this would be a perfect time to release Legend.
Before that, I don't know if you remember, the 1 year anniversary came up, not a peep from them at all. But they did update the store. They didn't give players anything. They updated the store and gave a special anniversary bundle that you could buy for, I think it was either 480 or 600 Pokecoins. So if you wanted to celebrate their anniversary, you could buy something from them. And that was the only thing we got for a while. But then they announced this. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And so they announced this huge real-life event in Chicago, Illinois, with others that were supposed to be happening around the world in the weeks to come, where it was finally announced that they were going to unleash legendaries. Now, this just came after a big gym rework. The way that the gyms work, just like Stone was just talking about, happened, but also there were now raids, and raids feature hard bosses, and it could be any number of them, but the legendaries were going to be raid bosses, and the only way to defeat them was to work together, and they recommend, I think, 20 players per legendary. You had to be in a group near this gym, take them down, and it was supposed to be this great cooperative event. And I still find the idea exciting if it worked as intended. Mm-hmm. So they had this real-life event in Chicago where the first legendaries were going to appear. And they had other things that were really cool happening, like Heracross, right? Did I say that right? Heracross?
What about it?
The coral Pokemon, is that right? Heracross?
Heracross is the beetle with the horn.
Maybe that.
Are you talking about a legendary or what?
No, a regional. Yeah, it is Heracross.
Oh, I didn't hear about him. I'm sorry.
So Heracross, right now it is, and I don't know the exact locations, but it's a regional, but unlike the others like Tauros and Kangaskhan and all that,
Farfetch.
They're not. Yeah, and Farfetch. They're not locked to a particular landmass like North America and all that. It's actually between different longitudes.
I'm not sure.
So it's actually basically near the equator, relatively near the equator. This thing spawns all over the world. So I thought that was pretty cool, but they were going to actually have him spawn at the event because, hey, people are flying all over the world. Let's give them a very tough to find Pokemon because it has such a limited range.
Right.
And we're going to give them access to it. Well, supposedly, Niantic contacted, and again, supposedly, all the big carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, all these, and said, we're having this event. You're going to experience higher server load. We need you to either increase the tower bandwidth or we need you to get some mobile towers. Only Sprint, I think, actually responded with some mobile towers. Mm-hmm. So come the day of the event, and I still, even though they supposedly did this, I still put the fault on Niantic.
Yeah.
These servers would not work.
Right.
The towers were overloaded. No one could log into the game, and it was impacting people around the world at this point, not just people in Chicago. But by and large, if you were at the event, a lot of people couldn't log in for the entire 3-day event.
Yeah.
So legendaries were spawning. No one could catch them. Heracross was spawning. No one could catch it. No one could even get in just to spin a stop, just to continue their streak. People flew from around the world. And, you know, there is some personal responsibility on these people. I get it.
Right.
But people are flying from Australia for a chance to be the first to catch the legendary Pokemon because they are that invested in this game. They have probably already spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in the game supporting this developer that probably doesn't deserve it.
That's a scary
Only to find out that they cannot even log in for the duration of the event.
Yeah.
It was a mess. Niantic did apologize very blandly.
You could say poorly.
Poorly. They apologized very poorly, and they gave everyone $100 in Pokemon coins who attended the event.
In-game currency.
In-game coins.
That cost them $0 to give these people.
In fact, not only did it cost them $0, but it ultimately, and we know this from working in retail, when you give someone a gift card, they typically spend far and above beyond what the value. 3 times the amount. So if that translates over into digital games, even just a fraction of that, they are going to see more than $100 from each of these players.
Right.
So they really just kind of paid themselves. And I think they refunded a $20 wristband. I can't remember what that was for. But now, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but there's actually a class action lawsuit that's forming.
Right. And I mean, as far as that lawsuit goes, they will definitely just settle. I don't see them wanting
They should.
Yeah, that's silliness. But yeah, there are travel costs above the, amount that costs to get into that festival. And I should also say that those Pokestops, they were protected by a QR code that you had to scan on your ticket itself so that people outside the event, like GPS spoofers, couldn't walk in there and swipe everything and get the benefits of the event. So the QR codes weren't being read. So even the people that were in it couldn't get in it. They did, after a few hours, expand it to, I think, a 2-mile radius outside of just, I forget what the name of the park was they were in. But, the park, that way the towers could kind of be spread around it. And that did help diminish traffic for the event. And then worldwide, we were able to play. But yes, that the event was not so well carried out. And on top of that, the legendary Pokemon that was released and any benefits that could benefit the worldwide player base, such as lessened distance needed for candies from your partner Pokemon, or hatching eggs, or double experience, or double candy, or higher spawn rates, all of those for worldwide players were dependent on the number of Pokemon caught during that event. So it wasn't just hurting the people at the event, which I think is also important to mention, are the core fan base for Niantic. They are their biggest supporters, and they were the ones hurt the most by this. But there were ripples, that was felt worldwide for this event. Now, luckily, when they were able to get some of it up, those benefits were available for worldwide players. But I found that I had caught one Pokemon that day, just because I wanted to get my streak bonus. My girlfriend did not, and it turns out that she was not benefiting from the double experience for the first few days that the event was extended. So I didn't know that worldwide you needed to contribute to get the benefits either.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't advertised at all. I feel like this event was thrown together very quickly. I did see that there were some claims that Niantic did reach out to carriers, and whether or not the carriers followed through, Niantic really can't be 100% held responsible for. But, something like that, you'd think they'd put some kind of contract out there or some kind of monetary compensation to say, hey, we need these services provided to us, especially since at the end of the day, they made money off this because they refunded everyone in-game currency that cost them $0 to distribute per person. So there could have been some money spent. They sold these tickets ahead of time. They knew the capacity they were supposed to expect. Now, I know that the reason some carriers didn't show up, in fairness to the carriers, is they were spending a lot of money campaigning for or against net neutrality, which is a big issue right now that's affecting us worldwide, but
Sure.
Most importantly in the United States right now, where it's going to be hopefully not passed. But I know some of those carriers are trying to vote for it and some against it. So they're at odds with each other and trying to spend money to campaign against each other. So instead of this event, they were off, spending money elsewhere. So I get all of those circumstances surrounding it, but you set up this event. You were in charge of everything. That means, every little detail about it, you were responsible for. And since it didn't happen, that is on you. So it's up to you to make it right, and I feel like they didn't make it right. They apologized in the worst way, and they really, really, really hurt their biggest fans. The people that went to Pokemon Go Fest were their biggest fans, period. And they showed them, we don't really care about you guys. So why should I continue to play and support this game? I don't know.
Right.
It's a question worth asking.
It is. And, just talking about the suit, I have done a little bit of reading on it, and if they probably will settle just because hopefully they feel a little bit of guilt. If it goes to trial, the people involved, the actual class action, they're going to lose. Niantic has the money to back it up. There's no way that we would ever, as a community, put enough money together to properly take action against them. So I'm hoping that they settle. I just feel bad. These people were expecting so much, and the ball was dropped in a very real, very heavy way. So while I do say, guys, you should have known better to spend, your life savings to get to this event, at the same time, what you were promised and what you received were two very drastically different things.
And I think it's also important to talk about what they were promised, because all of it was very vague.
Yes.
There was, people's minds are going to wander. This is a game where we've endlessly been promised things that haven't come to fruition. So this is the one tangible thing they can hold a ticket in their hands and say, finally, something Niantic says is going to exist, and look what they got. So, yeah, I understand. I think, if anything, Niantic would settle just because maybe they would think, oh, this is frivolous, let's just get it over with. But
Sure.
I don't know. I just it's not right. It's not right the way they're treating their fans. It's not right the way they're treating this game, and it stinks that Nintendo or the Pokemon Company can't stand up and say you are abusing our IP. You need to do something about this. It really bugs me because now it's starting to impact my opinion on Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, which, you know, obviously I've been loyal to since I was, I don't know, this came out when I was 6. So, yeah, it's a big deal.
So that's Pokemon Go.
Pick it up.
A lot
it's
of ups
free.
and downs. It is. It's completely free. If you haven't played it before, you know what? Download it, play it. Tell us what you think. And if you've been playing it, let us know, you know, what you've thought of it up till now. I know a lot of you that are listening that are already in the community, you have been playing, and I've heard some of the same comments that I've had and some of the same ones that Stone has had. So we'd love to hear what you guys think. Are you still playing it? Did you take a break? Are you done completely? Did you come back? Did something draw you back in? For me, I still play it every day, casually, but I enjoy it for what it is, not what it could be. And I also don't play it based on my experience with the former games, which, in my opinion, has helped my enjoyment immensely.
Right, yeah. And I could talk at length. I don't want to blow people's ear off or make too angry, but yeah. If you do try it, I do sincerely hope you enjoy it because I don't know. It's when you boot up this game. When I first did, you know, all those feelings of being a kid like rush back to you. It's a big deal. It was a big deal at the time.
Sure.
I got to go out with my friends who had the same experiences when we were younger. And we got to just hang out and have fun while the servers crashed about 100 times. And, you know, I was hoping with the raids, something like that would come back. I found Articuno at our local park. So I thought, hey, this will be fun. I'll put something up on Facebook. And I turned out playing with 6 strangers. Nobody else like showed up of my friends, which I understand because nobody's playing the game anymore. So my girlfriend and I and 6 strangers, we ended up, it took 8 of us, but we beat Articuno. I was able to capture it. My girlfriend wasn't. And the feeling didn't come back. It didn't do anything for me. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm too far gone. But I hope you guys enjoy it. If you pick it up, it's free. Try it out. Please don't spend a dime.
Yeah. Yep. And that's really all there is to say about it. But we do have another game that's not free, admittedly.
Right.
But we have another game that both of us were actually shockingly excited to start playing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, after our last episode ended, the next day, you know, controller in hand playing this game. I was updating it, I think, during our recording of the podcast or before we recorded last episode because I was like so excited to get my hands on it. But there was an update in the middle of our time playing it where they added a brand new game mode for free that you and I just tested a few hours ago.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
But before we even do that, you know, we had some lead up with Pokemon. Let's talk about our lead up with this game because I played the first, you didn't. But how did we settle on Titanfall 2? Why don't you take it away?
How do we settle on Titanfall 2? So the whole idea of this podcast, and I always say it in the intro, it's about us playing games that we meant to, or we wanted to, or we were told we should, but for some reason or another, we didn't, or at least one of us didn't. So we have played games that Stone has played that I haven't, and vice versa. This is one that it's not old. It's only a little over a year old at this point. Or actually, is it even a year old?
October will be a
so
year.
Not even a year.
Yeah.
We're coming up on a year now, but we both avoided it kind of like the plague because of what Respawn did with Titanfall. We started to see this trend, and Titanfall wasn't the first offender, but it was the first AAA offender, from my understanding, of having a full-priced $60 game with only a single game mode, multiplayer.
Right.
That's it. There was no campaign. There was no... could you even play offline with bots?
No. And
no?
I think it's also worth mentioning that this is when the Xbox One had very few titles, so there weren't a lot of options.
Right. So you have this game that has multiplayer only, which, by and large, many of you know this about me, I am not a competitive multiplayer gamer. I just don't typically play PvP. Even though Souls games are my favorite out there, I never engage in the PvP community unless I'm being begged to and I play with friends, and that's the only way I'll get into it. My multiplayer experience, I like games sometimes like Battlefield, where I get to work together with a team, but your Call of Duties and anything that focuses heavily on PvP is just not for me. So I avoided Titanfall completely. Now, Stone, you did play some. How much did you play the first one?
The first one I played the beta. I remember playing the beta and thinking it was pretty fun, but I didn't think I'd pick it up. So I played friends' copies. So I think I put 3 to 5 hours in it.
Okay. Okay, so you didn't play yourself, but you have about 3 to 5 hours. And what did you think of the first one?
Well, I did actually play it myself, but it wasn't my copy.
Right.
So, yeah, my time was limited. My first one, the biggest issue was balancing. There are NPCs that run around, and you get points for killing the NPCs. So people would just kind of not engage in PvP. And that's fine. I am like you. PvP isn't really my forte or what I want to do in games. But that doesn't mean you should force me into a PvP match and then give me the option. So I was really off put by that. But I enjoyed how fluid it was, that you could, like, you know, the free running. That was pretty new for a shooter. And I think that was a really big deal at the time. So that, and again, shiny new console. That's the only reason that I really played as much as I did, and friends, you know, encouraging, passing the controller, that kind of thing. Like, okay, I could do better than you did last round kind of thing.
So because of Titanfall only having the multiplayer, and because I avoided it, when Titanfall 2 was announced, I was not interested. I was not interested at all because I don't want to play multiplayer. It's just not my thing. Now, Titanfall, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but by and large, it was successful in that it made its money back. It did sell a lot of titles, but I think part of that was because Xbox One was kind of, you know, lacking in the game variety at the time. So it did all right, but Respawn did something that most developers just flat out refused to do, and that is they actually got involved with and listened to their player base.
Right.
People said, we want more than just running and gunning. You made a fun game. The free running is great. The gunplay is good. The Titans play so excellently, but we need to expand this. We need to broaden the horizon if you want to actually keep people engaged. Titanfall, much like any other game that has a single game mode or game style, like Evolve and things like that, huge numbers the first few weeks, and then drastic declines
this
in
hit the
player.
bargain bin very quickly.
It did. So Respawn said, hey, you know what? We hear you. You need more. You need more game types, not only within the multiplayer, but you do want a story. So they actually dedicated a lot of resources, not just a writer or two. They had full-fledged development and writing teams just for the single-player campaign, because they wanted to deliver an entirely new experience for a sequel to a game that and I said this to Stone earlier, to a game that honestly no one was asking for a sequel for.
Yeah.
No one said, I can't wait for Titanfall 2, but they announced it, and then they shocked everyone by saying, we have a campaign, and believe us when we say it's a good one. So, I avoided it because I didn't like the idea of what Titanfall 2 did. You avoided it. What was your reasoning? Same or?
Well, the devs are the one that said, yeah, we have a treat for you. And I was like, okay, well, of course you're going to say that. You want me to buy your game. And then the people that liked it were like, yeah, I play a ton of Call of Duty. So I was like, okay, they're going to like that game. So I felt like the reviews coming out were by a small selective group of people. And I didn't really think it was, you know, that popular across the board. But then, like, Reddit started blowing up with it, and I was like, I'm still unsure, but I could be, you know, pushed either way at this point. And then it fell off for me, and then you were like, what about Titanfall 2? I was like, you know, for less than $20, yeah, I'll give Titanfall 2 a try. I'm glad I went back to it. We can talk about our experience in a little bit. But, yeah, mine was just kind of reluctance. It wore me down.
So we chose this game simply because we had heard really good things about Titanfall 2. It won some awards. Now, we'll talk about it maybe in a little bit, or we might even save this for next time, because I know we're already getting a bit long in this episode. We haven't even talked about the game. But it actually didn't do all that well, despite a lot of the critical and user praise that it received. But I do believe that that's by and large due to Titanfall 1 being a disappointment to so many. How do you wash a $60 taste of a mediocre game out of your mouth and expect to drop another $60 in hopes that it exceeded the first? That's a tough sell.
Especially because some people who didn't pay attention to the game might have just thought, oh, that's a multiplayer only game. Still, they might not have thought, oh, this is definitely added a campaign. It was just, I don't know, the first one tarnished its name almost.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the questions you typically ask right off the bat is, how much time have you put in?
Okay. As far as hours, I don't know. I played it all very early, as soon as we recorded the last episode. So I know that I played about 6 story missions worth on top of a little tiny bit of multiplayer. And then we just played 3 hours like a second ago?
A couple hours, yeah.
Yeah. So
I have significantly less, which is typically the case the first week that we do our new games. I only have about an hour and a half in the campaign, which I will tell you, I made no progress because I made a horrible decision.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
When it comes to first-person shooters, I find that many of them hold your hand, and there's aim assist, and your life goes down so slowly, whereas enemies die so quickly. So I like to play things on the hardest difficulty. I did it with any Call of Duty I played. I've done it with Battlefield. I want to be challenged with these games, and I tried to do the same with Titanfall 2, and let me tell you, don't do that. Don't do that. You die unbelievably fast, and it's not like everything's just a bullet sponge. Sometimes, like the Division comes to mind, difficulty is simply artificially induced because they give everything 18 quadrillion HP, and it just takes forever to take them down. No, things still die as they should, but you die as you should.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is infuriating, and it wasn't until probably the last 20 minutes of playing that I said, okay, fine, I'll play on normal.
Yeah, I started out on normal. I'm usually the other way. If I really like a shooter, I'll go back and play on a hard difficulty. Like, I love Halo, so that's the only one I'll jump in at, Legendary and just try to, knock it out from there. And that experience for me is more fun because you feel more like Master Chief. But I didn't really think I should jump in and start this game by being frustrated. I thought, let me experience the story, and if I really like it, I'll try again.
Yep, and that's what I should have done, and that's what I'm going to do going forward. So I spent more time today just sitting down and playing the new 4-person co-op mode. What is it called? Frontier or something?
I forget. But it's free. It's in their brand new update that just came out week ago, I think.
Yeah.
It's 4-person. It's like a horde mode where there's a few waves of enemies that come in, and you had to defend your one rally point. And you have 3 retries if you mess up, and you still get the level ups from the standard multiplayer matches. So if you're more of a PvE kind of guy like Mike and I, then I really do think it's a perfect game mode for that. But let's talk a little bit about the story, because that's actually where my main thing is, and I think we'll talk about this game mode once we have some more time put into it.
Sure. So since you have a little bit more time, do you want to kick it off? Talk about what you've noticed in the story and what stands out?
I'm really hesitant to, because I have some opinions that I don't want to ruin your experience with. So why don't you tell me how far you are and what your thoughts are?
So I'm still in the first mission where I'm collecting batteries for the Titan.
Oh my gosh.
When I told you that it was frustrating, I wasn't kidding. God. I'm talking the first enemies, the creatures that I had to fight. When I was on a cliff and those 2, whatever they were, those snarling beasts came after me, I probably...
they're hard on normal, though.
Oh, well, I probably reset about 40 plus times.
Oh, yeah.
Killing 2 of them.
I don't blame you for that. Those guys are hard on normal. All right, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want to influence it. And I know whenever I say bad things, you just think the opposite anyway, so you're welcome in advance. I won't say that this is a bad game. The movement is fantastic. The guns feel and sound really good. But if I had to describe it in a word, I would very much say uninspired. This game tries to be everything, but fails at almost all of them in my eyes. Like it's got the free running going for it. It's got a good blank canvas, like future setting, but then they try to integrate things like time travel and all these fantastic creatures that in the very beginning work, but then they're repeated over and over again. And they try to make the story so much deeper than it actually is in so short a time. Like with Halo, that's my favorite shooter, so I use that as an example. And maybe it's not fair to compare this to Halo because they're different games, but just speaking as far as the story goes, Halo keeps it pretty clean. As I'm talking about Halo 1 just as a comparison, because they're like, hey, you need to get here, and that's like, you need to, there's going to be these drop ships in the way, you have to kill all the enemies. So I get all these hordes of enemies appearing. In this, it's like, oh, this person has died, you need to take over their mantle, why don't you go do this? And when you get your objective that isn't like, go kill all these guys, it's just like, oh, these enemies happen to spawn right now. And I get that that's what has to happen in a shooter, or else you have a very boring and bland game. But with so many free running elements, you'd think there'd be more almost puzzle solving alongside it, which will be really fun. But it's like, here's a few hordes of enemies that make no sense for them being here, and like go out and get through this and then get to the end. There is a part later on that is really cool where you have to like replace the battery in this relay and reposition it. And that's where there's a lot of puzzle solving, and that was my favorite level by far, so I'm really excited for you to get to that. But you like reposition some cranes so you can do like free running, like obstacle courses, and then get onto like the satellite dish, and it is a blast. So it has really good moments when it's utilizing that correctly, but it's almost like a fan fiction. It's almost like somebody was like, write a sci-fi story, and somebody's like, well, what do you want me to pull from? And they're just like, sci-fi. And that's the story they decided to tell. So that, it's so generic. Uninspired is the only real word I can use for it. But points I will give it. When I was playing this, I very much felt like I picked up like a really great GameCube era game where it's almost arcadey. You go through the entire level and then you're in your Titan at the end, which is very predictable. Very Power Rangers to me. Like you play through the whole level as a normal person and then you pop into your Megazord and fight the big bad. But you kind of get the GameCube arcade shot. And the only game I can liken it to right now is Sonic Adventure. Like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, you know.
Okay.
It shows the boss and then their name flashes across the screen and then you're just in that fight. And like that was really familiar feeling to me. It was really cool and arcadey, and that's what I liked about the game. When it wasn't taking itself seriously. When it was like, this is just, you're just fighting in robots, so have fun. That was the best part of the game. So there are parts of this game that keep me coming back, but then there are parts of this game where it's like, why? Don't get so full of yourself. This is just bad. You're not making something great here. It sometimes it feels artsy for the sake of being artsy, but
Well, I mean, I'll have to keep my eye out. From what I've seen is very little. So the actual story itself, it's somewhat reminiscent of Pacific Rim, which kind of makes sense given the fact that you're not piloting a Jaeger, but the bond between pilot and Titan is supposed to be, almost as strong as that. But basically you play as Jack Cooper, who is just, he wants nothing to do or nothing other than to be a pilot, but you have to go through a lot of training before you are ever allowed to touch an actual Titan. But as events quickly unfold, you go from simulation to piloting or in my case, tracking down your first Titan very, very quickly because it hits the fan. Your trainer is now gone, spoiler alert, and he basically says, okay, in his dying words, I'm transferring the ability to control my Titan to you basically the rest of this all rests on your hands. Hopefully you don't screw it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Go out there and give him heck, kid. That's another thing that really bugged me, right? The plot armor is so thick on this character. It ruins the immersion. Right in the beginning, you got to that cutscene where you see him, like you get to that, I think you got to that cutscene. You get to the clearing and you see him and his Titan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you see him and his Titan and they're fighting off and you get knocked out and then you get saved. And then you get you get knocked on the ground, you get saved, you get knocked out, you get saved. Scavengers come out to kill you, you get saved again, and then like something else comes back and then you don't get noticed. But the second you see your instructor there, which is the only character you're familiar with, he dies right away. So it's like it's just so immersion breaking. Every time, like, if this game took a step back and just didn't take itself so seriously, went with a more arcadey feel, I feel like I'd be completely flipped around. This will be a phenomenal game. I'd be so all about it. But this is trying to be a really sincere, almost like heartwarming story that just isn't there for me. It's really missing the mark. But I hope you feel otherwise. And I hope after, the second half of the story, I feel otherwise. But so far, yeah, uninspired. And another reason I'm saying that that there was a lack of immersion here is because I feel like in Halo they took some time to build up the arsenal and familiarize the player with all the weapons, and like all the weapons are like out there sci-fi. There's alien weapons and then there's human weapons that are very much like popular weapons we see at the time, like normal assault rifles and pistols and all that, but with a more sci-fi feel. And then with this game, they throw these weapons with these kind of crazy names to make them feel like they have a personality, but every one you pick up just feels like another weapon in just a different category. Like all the LMGs feel the same, all the assault rifles feel the same, all the pistols feel the same. The only reason I can differentiate them is because they all have different scopes, but there's no character to any of the weapons, and that's another thing that's immersion breaking, because how else do you connect a player to the shooter? Well, you have to do it through their weapon and their movement, and the movement's phenomenal. I will give no bad marks to the movement. It is spectacular, but the weapon falls so short to me that there is a disconnect when I'm playing. Now the Titan controls, again, spectacular. There's not the display isn't too busy, but it's enough that makes you feel like you're in the pilot seat almost of this Titan. It's believable that HUD is there, and the controls are really tight. It's really responsive, and they're a lot of fun. They're set up really sensibly. So it stinks that you can go from that kind of immersion to immediately breaking it, in my opinion, by being the pilot.
Let's move on to multiple. I need to see more of the story before. Once I play on normal, I will go through it much faster. I promise you that.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you think, and I hope it's the opposite. I always hope. I'm so cynical, but I always hope everyone has a better time than me.
So you played a little bit of actual multiplayer, like PvP, right?
Yeah. So first of all, the multiplayer menu is really lovely. They set it up with multiplayer in mind. I think they knew people coming back to the series because they really enjoyed the first one would really be centralized on the multiplayer menu. So they set it up in a really intuitive way. Everything you need is kind of all on one screen, and it doesn't feel overwhelming at any point. But what does bother me is that they have the server invite button or region invite. What was it?
Network.
Yeah, network invite, where you can just like mass invite a ton of people. So invites are always popping up in the middle of your screen. And the first time I queued, I thought that was like, hey, you have a game. So I clicked to enter, and it was in a private match. So I think I got less experience, but it turned out to only be Titan versus Titan, which wasn't what I wanted. But then when I got in the game, it was a lot of fun because I wasn't with a bunch of people that knew how to pilot their Titans, and I was getting dominated. I held up pretty well. So they have a lot of cool game modes. They have a capture the flag, they have Titan only, they have pilot only, they have a mix of both. And I think they have one with limited lives as well. And all of those game modes are really unique, but I've only played 4 or 5 online matches. And honestly, out of the online, which is all really good, really solid online play, this game is clearly still made for the multiplayer, but that is definitely not a bad thing. I think that PvE that we just played cooperatively was my favorite. And just one other nitpick. Those NPCs are still running around in the standard, I think it's just called attrition, which at this point has become a staple, but it still bugs me for balancing. I think they're worth less points than they were in Titanfall 1, but it's still just easy kills so you can rack up, whatever points you need.
I didn't realize that they still had the actual AI enemies in multiplayer. That's strange.
Yeah, like little grunts will be running around, yeah.
Interesting. So I haven't done any multiplayer. I do want to. I think at some point we should sit down, and I know we've talked to some people in Discord. If they have it, we'd love to try to get a group together to do some actual PvP.
Yeah, we only need 2.
We only need 2. But we did the new, I just looked it up, Frontier something. Anyway, yeah, it's like Stone said, it's there are some tower defense aspects because you can buy turrets, but basically it's horde mode. There is a harvester, which is just, if you watch the trailer, they literally tell you not to ask what they're harvesting because it's on a need-to-know basis. So in other words, they did not come up with anything creative for it. But you're defending this pylon, if you will, and if it goes to 0, you lose. It's as simple as that. And each wave gets progressively harder. You have grunt and suiciders and these stupid exploding tick things that we all hate.
Oh,
there are different levels of titans, and your whole goal is simply survive for 5 waves. And as you do, you earn money, and in between rounds you can buy weapon upgrades and traps and batteries to heal your titan, whatnot. And we played on easy.
Right.
We played on easy. It doesn't get any lower. And it took us, was it 3? No, we did get it technically on the second attempt, but after multiple wipes.
Yeah, no, we wiped completely with the first group.
Yes.
Which was our first time playing that game mode. And then the second group, we had that one guy that was terrible, but we still ended up winning because I figured out, just spend all your money on turrets and then have both of our Titans patrol the objective. So we had like 4 automated guns on the objective, and you and I ran out and got the mortars, and we were like, okay, we found the key to winning. So we're starting to get a little bit more oiled after the second round.
Yes.
So I think, and we had to use 1 or 2 of our retries in the second match.
I think we only used 1. We only used 1.
Yeah. So we got into the swing of it pretty quickly. And if you have a good team, it could be a blast. If you're playing with a few friends, I could see how I would do this for hours. Like I would too. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Now, I really enjoy the variability. So the 2 people, or the other 2 people we played with in the second round, I don't think left their Titan. No.
At all.
No, and they had pretty opposite both Titans and playstyles.
Yes. Yeah, which is fine. I like that diversity. But Stone and I, like he said, we actually summoned our Titans. And what I love about it is they are another entity. They are actually a helper, even if you're not piloting them. You can set them to defend, or you can set them to just kind of patrol around and follow you. And so we set ours on defense right on the Harvester while we went out and took care of kind of the small fish, the mortar teams and the grunts and some of the Titans if we had the nuke.
Yeah,
that
we
hijacked
use. A few of them.
Yeah, we hijacked quite a few. And so every playstyle can benefit from the others, and I love that because too often in these games, I just see it as run and gun. Yeah. And I like that there is strategy, at least in the PvE aspect of Titanfall 2. It remains to be seen for me whether that's going to be present in PvP, but I'm very curious to find out.
Yeah. We're definitely going to do a lot more of it. It is really fun.
Oh, yeah.
The game is built for its multiplayer, if you ask me. The story has some good elements. I'm probably going to end up finishing it this week because I, as much as I kind of, trashed on the story, I'm excited to finish it, and hopefully the second act is better.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, we if you're playing it, if you have it on Xbox One, please let us know. We will add you. We will get you in here. We'll do some Frontier, do some PvP, but we'd love to get you guys involved as much as we can.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a blast because we just need 2 people, and we will spend all day playing it.
By the way, and I don't know exactly how many hours you have in the story. Apparently, main story only is about 6 hours long.
Okay.
So you probably don't have a whole lot left.
Yeah, I have 6 levels under my belt. So
okay.
It has to be 2 or 3 left.
Yeah, it does say leisurely you can expect about 9, but if you're playing on normal, you're probably closer to that 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, so probably 3. I'm going to say 3 levels left.
Beautiful.
I don't know. There's so much to talk about, and we're out of time. But
next time we'll jump in to talk about Titanfall 2 a lot faster because, there's going to be a lot more to talk about once we get some of you involved and once we've both completed the story for sure.
Right. So we have to wait the dreaded 2 weeks to come back.
2 weeks. Wow.
I hate it. Let's just do this every day.
Every day. Let's
Same
do it.
thing
Let's
we
do
do
full
every
time.
day, Pinky.
Let's do 8 hours of podcast a day.
Oh my golly. Yes. More than anything.
I'm not going to lie. That's a hard pass from me.
Yeah. Swipe left. All right, guys. Well, as always, this has been the Forgot to Save podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I have been Stone.
And I've been Mike.
And we will see you on August the 15th. Thanks, guys.
Bye.